And Natalie and I have developed a partnership and friendship, and just as we were getting back from being where we couldn't visit with anybody, just decided we were talking about how being apart from people is stressful. When you are a social person and a communicator and a talker, and going to this Zoom world is new for me. So welcome everybody. And I'm just gonna start out by talking about how St. Therese, as a lot of you know from watching news and things, was one of the first facilities to have an outbreak of COVID in the building. And being the first is not always the best place to be. You are learning along with the Department of Health on how things are going. You are following CDC guidelines, and daily almost things change. And that's something we as a team here found. Even though in the beginning we were following all the guidelines that they had brought us out, we still had folks, as you know, develop the COVID, and we did have folks pass away, which was hard on our team. All of you who work in senior care and in hospital roles, you know our patients become part of the family. And so having that loss, even though we came to work every day to protect our patients, seeing them go through these things, watching families not be able to come visit daily. If you've been in our building prior to COVID, you would know that St. Therese New Hope is a very thriving campus. We have visitors nonstop. We have partners in visiting patients, and we have a large campus where we have independent and assisted living folks who use our cafe, go to mass daily. So from a building that was full of life and thriving to the flatten the curve, no visiting, just was a very different atmosphere for us. That's kind of the lows, you know, watching our residents pass, having lots of loss. We as a team came together from folks who weren't necessarily on the floor, caregivers going on the floor to assist our residents on a daily basis. The one thing about what I have found with all of this, the team we have here really became a family. All hands on deck and everybody helping to take care of everybody. So that's kind of at our low. But within the low, again, we saw with the news media, which was bad press, we saw a community of caregivers come and support us. Partners in the senior healthcare community came and rallied around our building, and flowers and donations and the support of our community, not only the family members of the folks who lived here, but our partner support was just amazing. I can't even tell you how good it felt to get flowers, a box of candy, something for the staff, just was wonderful. So the support of the healthcare community was amazing. We received lots of phone calls from all of you who are our partners who checked on us to see how we were doing. We're so grateful for that. And then the families. We have amazing families of folks who live here who were very supportive and sent letters and just wonderful. So in the midst of crisis, became a strong team. So we're very grateful for that. And also being the first comes with its challenges. We have learned a lot. We are COVID-free in our building since May. We do not have any cases here. And I just want to also mention that our campus is independent and assisted living attached to us than the care center. So we did not have outbreak in our independent and assisted living. There were some isolated cases who were positive, but that was again very isolated. So they are strong and thriving. Also are and have availability and are open to admitting or moving in. And then on the care center side, being COVID-free now since May, we have reopened to admissions in July, and our welcome unit, we call it, which is our 14-day isolation or observation for symptoms, is open and thriving as well. So thank you for those of you who have called and sent referrals, and your folks are thriving and doing well. We call that 14-day unit our welcome unit. The folks coming in, if they're coming from the hospital and have met their quarantine period in the hospital, who don't need another positive test, come to that 14-day unit as well. Or if they were not in the hospital for any COVID symptoms, they are welcome as well. And then folks coming from home or from an assisted living or from another care center here for long-term care, we are following the CDC and Department of Health guidelines for current negative from them to be admitted. And when they come to our welcome unit, there are all private rooms for that 14-day quarantine period. And they still receive their physical and occupational therapy in those areas, but then transfer to their either long-term care, hospice, or continued rehab stay, and then are discharged home if they're here for rehab. So just wanting to let you know that we are healthy and open to admission and doing well here at the New Hope campus, and have learned a lot, and just really looking forward to moving on with this new world we are in with healthcare, and going forward with that. So we have openings. We're available for admission, and also there are apartments available in the apartments, so in assisted living. So if you need us, give us a ring, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them later on. Thank you. And now we'll go back to Natalie.
All right.
St. Croix.
Sounds good. Do you kind of feel like you're sometimes sorry, now I'm having computer issues here. Bear with me. I feel like we're on TV now. Back to you. We are a whole new world here. So anyway, so back to me. I am going to be sharing a little presentation here. So you'll see my screen shortly. And I am, there we go. I just was in full screen and couldn't see anything that was going on here. So thank you so much, Carrie. I'm so glad to hear that everything is going well. It was a tough start, and you guys, handled it with dignity, grace, and it wasn't easy. So thank you for everything you're doing over there, and staying strong and staying positive. And happy to hear that St. Therese of New Hope is doing well. So without further ado, I'm going to pop into a little presentation here. These slides, of course, are tailored to hospice, considering I work for St. Croix Hospice, and this is a CEU event. I have to follow our interdisciplinary guidelines as much as I'd love to just sit and chat and give you all warm fuzzies and everything. There, I will have some information that will be helpful as well. So I'm going to share my screen and then we'll go ahead and get started. There we go. That way you don't have to see everything. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, I am Natalie with St. Croix Hospice, and again have been with St. Croix Hospice for about 5 years. Over these 5 years, I have managed to do several presentations and CEUs for people just like you out there. And it's such an honor to be able to share such a beautiful benefit and so many different things that are, you know, we don't see. We see that, you know, as medical experts, as social workers, as nurses, and those of you working in the systems day to day, it's hard to really have a moment to just take a moment and focus on all of the different things that really are involved when it comes to making a hospice referral for a family member. And it really is nice to know that we have more than just, you know, the services. We're here for you guys too. So without further ado, I will get going here. So objectives today, we're going to learn a little bit more about professional and family caregiver role strain, family caregiver statistics. I took some of that out of there. I don't want to bore you guys today. I want to bring you good, positive, enlightening information. But we are going to talk about factors that contribute to caregiver role strain, because, you know, you're professional caregivers. You are out there, you are on the front lines, and you are making these, helping families make these huge and important decisions. And it does take its toll on us. It does wear us down. So we're going to also just talk about some signs of caregiver role strain, just really help you understand maybe when it's time to take a break. You know, when is it time to take a step back, take some deep breaths, and maybe ask for help. So I'll also talk about how hospice can help when you're dealing with some of those situations. We'll talk about some helpful strategies, how St. Croix Hospice can support you, and then we'll turn it over to Zach, and he's going to do a little bit more reflection and empowerment and enlightenment for us today, because I feel like we could all use it, especially on this kind of cloudy day. So I think that, you know, you have that to look forward to. So just bear with me as we get through the slides, and then we'll turn it over to him. So, understanding professional and family caregiver stress. These two both go hand in hand, because when we are professionals doing what we do, we are working with a lot of those family caregivers. And so we're suddenly a team with these families, and each of these families, you know, we want them to feel like they're the only family that we're working with, but sometimes that gets hard. It takes its toll. So really just kind of going to be talking about the differences and the similarities between the two. So definition of caregiver role strain. Caregiver role strain is experienced when a caregiver, professional or family, feels overwhelmed and is unable to perform their role to the best of their ability. It's accompanied by feelings of stress and anxiety. Now, through these last several months, even before these last several months, it wasn't always easy. It's not always easy. You know, not every transfer, every transition, every patient is simple, is easy to you know, move along or help or support. Every single day has its ups and downs, but you add a global pandemic on top of that, and the stress and the anxiety is is going to be normal. We're going to feel that. We are going to feel it. So, you know, it's definitely something to think about and to know about is caregiver role strain. Whoops, of course. So who among us, and of course, I'm not seeing you guys in person, and I really wish I was, because I'm so much better in person. Talking to a computer is definitely not my forte, but I imagine that out there, a few of you are going to be nodding your heads to this question. Who among us is experiencing or knows someone experiencing stress related to caring for a vulnerable population or a loved one during this pandemic and even outside of COVID-19? I imagine there's several of you out there, like I said, nodding your head, yep, I know somebody, or I am that person. Factors that contribute to professional and family caregiver role strain are going to be, you know, sometimes we feel like the job that we're doing right now, we're out there and we are putting day in, day out. And I know that Carrie can relate to this with her experience at St. Therese. She is, you know, in charge of admissions, and all of a sudden she's also an LPN. All of a sudden she was a nurse and she was there 24/7. And the expectations were through the roof. It becomes, so much. And to have, you know, as she mentioned, you know, a lot of the community and everybody really recognized their help and everything that they were doing. But sometimes we don't get that validation. And when we don't get that validation, we're human. And when we're putting that extra time in and those extra hours, and the families are sometimes even harder on us than we can handle. It really is tough to feel like you're not being recognized, but just know that you are, by so many of us. When you're overwhelmed, it can also lead to health issues. So you just are not taking time to take care of yourself. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of you on this call today that are, again, nodding your head. Yet you're dealing with so many different challenges coming at you, you kind of put yourself on the back burner. And that's why I hope that you're sitting behind that computer with some of your coworkers and having a nice lunch and enjoying yourself a little bit here today. Knowledge deficit regarding management of care. Do I have what it takes? And how well do I understand this? This is a huge one right now. None of us knew what to expect with COVID-19. There is definitely a knowledge deficit there. And to have to all of a sudden learn everything we possibly can about this virus and how it's affecting people without any history, that's a pretty overwhelming task at hand. And those of you out there on this call, though, you have just done it. I guarantee you've just gone in and done it. So a lot of you out there have multiple competing roles. You're an employee. You're helping people day to day get the care and the support they need. Your moms, your daughters, you're taking care of loved ones, your wives, etc. Your husbands. You know, you are brothers, fathers. Everybody out there, you know, on this call has a life outside of the role that you're in. So you may be unaware or reluctant to use available community resources. What's available that might help you? Guess what? There's lots of stuff that can help you, and we're going to talk about that too. Suddenly your personal and social life, that one outlet, that one thing that we really, you know, looked forward to at the end of the week, hanging out with some friends, having some fun, was suddenly taken away from us. And I'll skip down to the last one, unpredictable illness course, when things take a quick turn and we need to respond. I mean, you could be with one patient and working with a family and thinking that your patient down the hall is all set to be discharged and is doing pretty well, and all of a sudden flatlines, things change, and all of a sudden you have to go into survival mode and figure out how to respond. So of course these things are going to contribute to some strain and some stress and some anxiety. Signs of caregiver role strain, apprehension about ability to provide future care, questioning how much more you can do. your own health, again, beginning to suffer. And you start to give up time to meet personal needs and provide self-care. Displays change in your own status. Are you feeling tired? Do you have an upset stomach? And you're like, why is my stomach upset? Why am I getting these frequent headaches? Some of us during COVID-19 proceeded to put on the COVID 30 or 20 that, or maybe we've lost weight. Disturbed sleep, frustration, stress, it's all signs of caregiver strain. So know that, these feelings, although unwanted, are normal during a time like this. But guess what? Like I said, you're normal and you're not alone. Stress happens when you think you have to figure out everything all at once. So just take a moment and breathe. Sit for 10 seconds and take a few deep breaths. You are strong. You've got this. Take it day by day. I found this little guy, this little normal human response to a global pandemic that do not need to be pathologized or treated as abnormal. I'm trying to talk fast here. Some of these things listed are very, very spot on. And these feelings are normal. Sense of loss of control or powerlessness, feeling confused, feeling like existing chronic needs are being ignored, thoughts and feelings about death and dying, new and old grief surfacing, feelings, caring for everyone to own detriment, compassion fatigue, huge one for us right now. And on top of what we already do for a living, this is, times about 30 on top of it, that compassion fatigue. You want to be soft and gentle and caring with your patients and your families and your loved ones. And sometimes you're just tired. And yes, it's normal, but you're not alone. We're all going through this. If you need support with any of this, anything on this little sheet here, it's okay. It's okay to ask for support. It's okay to give me a call. I'm a really lighthearted person. Give me a call. I'll talk you down. It's all going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're normal to be feeling this stress and this anxiety. It's something that we've never experienced before and are suddenly thrown into and experiencing. How we can help. We're here to encourage you. We're here to help you care for patients and members of your communities together and have it be mutually rewarding and satisfying. Together, we are capable of providing the best care we possibly can. It helps to have a team. Rally around your team, as Carrie said she did in the beginning of this conversation. Work with your team, support each other, talk. Make sure that you talk to each other about setting aside a time for yourself. And you can read through these when I send you, the presentation, but definitely, take time, even if it's, 10 minutes here and there, to just breathe and relax. Even if you feel like you can't take those 10 minutes, do it. Introduce stress reducing methods. We're here to, caregivers need the opportunity to relax and re-energize emotionally throughout the day to maintain care responsibilities. So even if you have other patients to care for, knowing that hospice patients have their hospice nurse and aide, visiting can be super helpful. They may also share what they find helpful to reduce the day-to-day stress as well. So if you're working with a nurse or if you're working with one of our liaisons out here, talk to them, talk to us, ask us, hey, how are you handling this? And we love to share information and insight on how to reduce stress. And encourage each other to participate in networking group or set aside time with some coworkers, hospice team, or friends to talk to and share inspiration and knowledge. Again, interventions, allow time to discuss problems, concerns, and feelings. It's okay to talk about it. Find somebody you can talk to and help you through what you're going through. Encourage people to utilize available family and friends who can assist with comforting, your residents, your patients, even if it's virtually, even if we have it set up so that our nurses can ask family members if they want to do a video chat with their loved one, and our nurses will help that patient video chat with their loved one. It takes a village to care for our vulnerable and for our sick, and even if we have to do it virtually, we'll talk about resources with people on how to do that. So, and don't be afraid to utilize available community resources such as respite, home health care, adult daycare, geriatric care, housekeeping services. You know what I did? I hired a cleaning lady. I've been running all over the state these last few months and trying to make sense of everything, and my house needed some help. So it's okay. Hire a little help if you need to. And my husband says thank you too for doing that, because it's very nice to come home to a clean home and a not stressed out wife. So provide safe and effective alternatives to medication. So what we're able to do when we're working with patients within facilities, and I know there's some of you on here who are in skilled nursing facilities and assisted livings, we really want to make sure that, you know, in the moments of behaviors and issues and challenges and stress, you know, our residents can often have escalated behavior. And what we really focus on is helping you guys learn how to deliver non-pharmacological interventions, so that there's ways to cope and there's ways to help you help them. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about, you know, making a referral to hospice, knowing that you have an agency who's going to have your back in helping you with these challenges. I saw this little thing the other day, and at the top it says it's coronavirus, but it also highlights it's on us. It's on us. We're in this together. We're here to support each other, demonstrate compassion, choose knowledge over fear, use only what we need, understand each other's fears, protect the vulnerable, and lead with empathy. And remember, we're leading with empathy. We are protecting the most vulnerable in what we do every day. But it's also extremely important that you protect yourself and you give yourself some time and some space to reflect and to you know, breathe and to sleep if you're tired. We're in this together, and we will get through this. It's on us, though. I mean, we are the people out here helping with this. So, but, and it says at the bottom there, also remember to wash your hands. Gotta have a little humor. So St. Croix Hospice support, as I mentioned earlier, you know, Zach O'Neill is going to be joining us here in about a minute or two once I get through these lovely slides. And just know that St. Croix Hospice support, we support physical, spiritual, and emotional support for the patient, as well as the care team, the caregiver, and the loved ones. You are the part of the care team, so we are here for you as well. Don't ever hesitate to give us a call to even talk you through whether a patient's eligible for hospice. We can even help you find other resources. I know on this phone call alone, I have several people who are from other agencies and other places that are there to help you and there to support your patients and your families. And we're here. We're all here for you. So don't hesitate to reach out to me, or at the end of this presentation, you'll see our two hospital specialists, Laura and Jennifer. They're there to help guide you through this. We want to prevent and reduce hospitalizations. We know it's hard to keep, you know, the amount of beds right now available in the event that something catastrophic does happen, and we want to make sure that we're not we want to reduce the frequent flyer miles for some of the people coming into the hospital. So let us help you do that. We have 24/7 on-call availability. We don't stop. We are here 24/7 for you with our interdisciplinary team. And we also have respite care options for home patients. So those of you who are hospital specialists or hospitalists, social workers, let us know if you feel like a family could utilize some respite services when you're making that referral, if they're burned out. I know I spoke with one of our hospice specialists this morning, and she said that a couple of our patients ended up in the hospital recently because the family just could no longer care for them. So utilize us, utilize me. Let's find out. We've got respite contracts. We can help you find respite for these families and still take really wonderful care of the patients. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Zach O'Neill, and I will pop back on here soon. I'm just trying to figure out how to get back to there we go, stop share. There, now I know what I'm doing. All right, thank you for your patience in the virtual world. So Zach, if you were ready, I'm going to turn on your video here, or ask you to start video, and we are going to hear some encouragement, some love from Mr. Zach O'Neill. Welcome.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, in these difficult and uncertain times, we're finding just new ways to support one another, from the comfort of our living rooms, from the comfort of our car, such as where I'm in. It's amazing what technology can do. Obviously, it's important to take precautions to stay healthy, and sometimes technology can be a burden, but in this case, it's definitely helping each of us to find ways to cope. And it's allowing us to just reflect on what's most important in life, and that is our family and friends and companionship, and just the simple things like the taste of good food and a walk in the park, or even just the daily routines of life. I wanted to start off by just sharing a poem by Mickey Scott B. Jones, and she titles this poem, it's called Brave. Together we will create brave space, because there's no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. There's a TED Talk about a simple and powerful model of inspirational leadership, all starting with this, what they call the golden circle and the question why. Everyone knows what they do. Some know how they do it, but very few people know why they do what they do. What's their purpose? What's their belief? Why do they care? Why do they serve? The way we think is naturally from the outside in. We go from the what to the fuzziest thing is the why. Well, know this, that people don't care what you do or how you do it until they know why you do what you do. And there was a study done that said that all successful leadership and leaders operate by starting with the why. Why do they do what they do? Take, for example, Apple. If Apple were like any other marketing agency, their marketing message would sound something like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Do you want to buy one? Maybe. I don't need a computer right now, so there's no reason to buy one. But that's how most of us communicate. We say what we do and how we do it, but very few oftentimes we communicate to others by saying why we do what they do. People don't care what you do or how you do it until they know why you do what you do. Here's how Apple really communicates. They communicate with the why. They say something like this: everything that we do, everything that we believe in is grounded in the reality, or no, that's not how, I apologize. Apple says something like this. They start with a why. Everything that we do, everything that we believe in is challenging the status quo. It's doing things differently. And the way we do things differently is we make beautiful computers, and they're beautifully designed. We just happen to make great computers. Do you want to buy one? You see what happened? They began with the why. People don't care what you do and how you do it until they know why you do what you do. For me, there's nothing more exciting, there's nothing more sacred, there's nothing more meaningful and purpose-driven than to come alongside others in the most critical times of their lives and be of service. If anything would describe what I do for a living, and what all of you guys do who are online right now, what we are doing together is we're walking very closely at the edge with other people through their extraordinarily difficult, but frankly normal parts of human life. I like to say that life is strong and fragile. It's beautiful, it's ugly, it's simple, it's complex, it's comic, it's tragic. But as human beings, we have this amazing privilege to be a part of another person's story and one another's story. You know, in reality, we're all just kind of floating through deep space, aren't we? On this tiny rock called Earth. And we're protected by the frigid galactic void of this Milky Way galaxy by this blanket of air. And then we're held on the surface of Earth by gravity. And here we are, you and I. Me, I'm in a car, it's raining, and I'm sure all of you guys are in different settings, but we're together right now. No bigger reality with the spiritual. Because it begs the question, who am I? And what's my purpose? And why am I here? And as we begin to wrestle with these questions, it draws in us a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves, something that will last, something that will endure. It draws us to one another. That is spirituality. Spirituality is the connectedness to the moment, to self, to each other, to a higher power, to God, to our patients. During this pandemic, where some people are dying poorly and they're dying all alone, you guys, we are in this together. And we have the privilege to remind them, the people that we serve, that they are not alone. That by our presence, we offer that reality that they are not abandoned, no matter how dire the situation may be. That they continue to be a part of the textured tapestry of this beautiful world called Earth, regardless of our circumstances, regardless of what's happening in the world. You know, if we had time, I would go around the room and open it up and ask if anyone would want to share. Why do they do what they do? Why do they care? What brought them into healthcare? And a lot of us, it's personal experience. Some, it's just randomness. It's something that just happened to come along your path, and movement continue to move forward. You know, in these times of uncertainty, it creates in us fear, doesn't it? Natalie talked about that a little bit. And any threat of this magnitude will naturally cause us to respond in varying degrees of concern. You know, those who adapt and change with their environment thrive, and they survive, and they grow. But it's the most unhappy people that most fear this change, that are threatened by the fear that drives them. Well, may we respond today And during this pandemic, may we respond with humility and chutzpah and make that choice today to lean into our fears and become the change that is needed so that we can not only survive, but thrive. Peter McWilliams said that we are all right now living the life that we choose. Now, this choice is not a single monumental choice. No one decides, for example, I think I'm going to go to Hollywood and become a movie star. No, or I'm going to go to Orlando and play in the NBA bubble. No, I wish I would. I wish I could. No, the choices that I'm talking about here are made hourly, moment by moment. Do I try something new or do I stick to the tried and true? Do I take a risk or eat what's already on the dish? Do I ponder a thrilling adventure or do I contemplate what's on TV? Do I indulge my heart or do I cater to my fears? The bottom line question is, do we pursue what we want or do we pursue what is comfortable? And for the most part, most people most often choose comfort. The well-known, the time-honored, the familiar. And after a lifetime of choosing between comfort and risk, we are all left with the life that we currently have. And it was all because of our own choosing. A leadership guru, John Maxwell, said that there's a choice that you have to make in everything that you do. So keep in mind that the choice that you make makes you. Let me say that again. There is a choice that you have to make in everything that you do. So keep in mind that the choice that you make makes you. So it's not enough to be the best when you have the ability to be great. Ask yourself, what is your potential? What's holding you back? Desire. Do you have what brings meaning and depth into your life? Perseverance in the face of setbacks and disappointments and failures. Strength to pick yourself up, to dust yourself off, to take one step and then another. Courage, the ability to place your dreams above your fears. Execution, what inspires you to action? What moves you? Ask yourself that. What moves you? And pursue it. So we have that choice. The capacity to choose is the greatest weapon that we have. The most powerful tool in our arsenal is that we have a choice this day to do what is right and good and lovely and trustworthy and honorable and praiseworthy, and the list goes on and on and on. But we also have the choice to be angry and bitter and sad and frustrated and disappointed, and the list goes on and on and on. So we're all on a journey of finding and losing, finding a sense of meaning, a sense of closure, a sense of peace, and losing our way of life, the way things used to be. We've lost a lot. We've lost a lot. Loss of routine, loss of security, loss of finances, loss of community. And regardless of who we are, we have to respect what is happening in this world right now. We can't just ignore it and push it aside and say, oh, this is just going to be over in no time. No, it's here. I know we don't need to be reminded, but let me just remind us. Let's just tether ourselves to reality right now. We are living in a world filled with hurting people, with lives that are spinning out of control, with hearts that have been broken, with pain that seems unbearable, with a pandemic that sees no end, where there's sickness and disease and fear. We also live in a world filled with joy and gratitude and happiness and goodness. I'm always amazed about the amazing things that people can do. I'm also amazed at the horrible things that people can do. And so may we be the people that do amazing things. You know, as we talk about COVID-19 and the stress that it has brought upon, the main thing is that, you know, all of us are suffering together, and suffering is just our emotional response to loss. That's what suffering is in a nutshell. Suffering is our emotional response to loss. And there are 4 types of suffering. There's meaning pain, there's relatedness pain, there's hopelessness pain, and then there's forgiveness pain. Meaning pain is just the crisis of meaning and feeling of hopelessness. Loss of control, that's meaning pain. Relatedness pain is when someone or something that you love is taken away. You know, if we love, we grieve. We have no choice. You can't have one or the other. You have to have both. Forgiveness pain is the inability to let go of a hurt caused by another person that continues to poison you emotionally, and then it manifests outwardly. You stay bitter. And we've all met those kind of people at the end of life where they're just bitter till the very end, and it's their bitterness that almost just takes their life. Their heart is just so bitter. Hopelessness is just the terminal illness of the soul. So what I wanted to do is just expound on the 4 types of spiritual pain that brings suffering a little bit. I don't know how much time, I don't have much time, but let's just take, for example, a big one, the loss of meaning and the feeling of powerlessness. You know, there's this guy named Viktor Frankl. Many of you have heard of him, and he was an inmate in the concentration camps during World War II in Poland. And he wrote a very famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. And in that book, he chronicles how he survived the brutality. And his discovery is what manifested out of his discovery was a very popular form of therapy, existential therapy, or meaning making. He said that physical deprivation and discomfort, no matter how brutal or extreme, does not cause suffering. What causes suffering is the loss of meaning, the loss of hope. He said anyone who has a why to live can bear almost any how. So pain and suffering can be endured if it is for a purpose, if you have a bigger reason for why you are feeling the way you are feeling. So that's meaning pain. Forgiveness pain. All of us have dealt with this or are dealing with this. One way or the other, someone has hurt us. Whether it's our family member or a personal friend, we've all hurt because of the pain of forgiveness. You know, when I was a small boy, my mother had abandoned me and my father had taken his own life right before my very eyes. And then I was an orphan and I was homeless in Seoul, Korea. And it wasn't back until, I'd say, 15 years ago when I had to do my own work inside my heart and with my own emotions that I was able to go back to that place and actually forgive myself and my parents for leaving and abandoning me, and just tending to that scared little boy who was all alone, that 4-year-old boy who was all alone in that dark and scary place, that emotional abyss. But the surprising thing was that is where the healing happened. It was back there tending to that scared little boy. It was in that stillness, in that silence, and where I found liberation. So leaning into and staying with my deep emotions, that's where the healing started to happen, that I had to own it and I had to sit there with it. And then just lovingly and gently let it go. I can always revisit it. But it's never healthy to stay in that place. It's okay not to be okay. It's just not okay to stay there. So leaning into and staying with deep emotions, that's where healing happens. There's a relatedness pain. You know, this is happening all around us. Something or someone that we love is lost. Once upon a time, somebody died. Think of a really good story, one that you didn't want to end, one that kept you turning the pages, one that you couldn't take your eyes off the screen. Who died? And if no one died, who was missing in that story? A parent, a spouse, a child? And if no one died or was missing, what was lost in that story? A way of life, the way things used to be? It's hard to imagine a really good story without the loss of someone or something significant. We all have a grief story. You know, an interesting thing is really good children's stories are often great grief stories, such as Charlotte's Web, the #1 selling paperback of all time for children, where Wilbur, the pig, loses the protagonist, Charlotte, at the end. Or you even have the #1 selling book series of all time for children, Harry Potter, where the whole book series is about Harry, who's an orphan, figures out how to live without his parents and discovers who his parents are throughout the entirety of the story. Even Lion King and Bambi and Anne of Green Gables. You know, the remarkable recurring theme in all of these is that of the orphan hero. We have Bruce Wayne of Batman, Peter Parker of Spider-Man, Clark Kent of Superman, even the hit movie Frozen, where Elsa and Anna lose their parents in a horrible sea storm, and afterwards the kingdom of Arendelle is thrown in an eternal winter by the powerful snow princess, Snow Queen Elsa, and her sprightly sister Anna teams up with rough-hewn mountaineer Kristoff and their trusty old reindeer Sven and Olaf the snowman to break the icy spell. And the only way to break the icy spell was the unconditional love that Elsa needed to embrace. And she needed to embrace her past, her pain, her powers, and then essentially kind of let it go. But she had to experience it. You see, there's no way out of grief, only through grief. Only when we allow ourselves to grieve can we move beyond it. Beyond, not to the old way of being, of what was once normal, not to denial of hurt, not to resentment or bitterness, but beyond, to fully integrating loss into life, to reintegration, to rebirth. It seems that I will not be able to finish all of this, so I'm just going to end with this. And it's just it's a blessing for all of the healthcare workers. To our beloved healthcare community during these extenuating circumstances, may the gift of your hands be a blessing today, not only to those who know your touch, but to your own soul, reminding you that your work extends beyond your own life across that of your human community. And in that love, may you be assured of the safety and care for those most dear to you, your family and your friends. Know that a strength will find you at just the time when you lose faith, when you wonder where your own next breath will come from. Trust that joy will come again like a new dawn. Know that we are all here together. Find a way to honor the needs of those with whom you share this work, and express your own needs to allow for self-compassion. Take time to find the gratitude. It is always there. Take deep breaths and hold on to the beliefs which guide you. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Zach, thank you so much. You know, I was delighted to be able to have Zach join us today, and I think everything that you shared with us is so fitting and so necessary right now. So thank you so much. And everybody, I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm going to share my screen here again, and you will have some contact information here at the end. You know, I really hope that you took some time today, this time to breathe, to relax, and enjoy a little food. It's so healing to have people like Zach in our world. So thank you. And thank you everybody again for what you do. Right now on the screen, I've got my contact information as well as Zach's. If you have questions or if you want more information, I know with time, Zach is a wonderful resource for all of us, and his email information is there. Don't hesitate to reach out to ask what that last few things he had in his presentation were. I know I'm curious myself. So, excuse me, for your CEUs or any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. If you want to talk by phone, I don't have my phone number on here, but certainly shoot me an email. I can share my contact information with you as well. For those of you who work in the hospitals, our hospital specialists are always on standby. This is Miss Laura Ward and Miss Jennifer Crooks. They are able to help you when transitioning patients to a facility, to their own home, or to a respite program. So it looks like we have a chat here. Let me just see. I have to exit out of my screen here, so bear with me. But definitely, take note of this information. I will send this information as well. So, and it looks like, Zach, that poem that you read, looks like if you could send that over to me and I can send that out to everybody. We have a couple of requests for that poem. So it's definitely healing. I love it myself. So I'll go back to screen sharing here. Hopefully it goes back to our hospital specialists here. Again, take that information down. And I know I do have Carrie on the line as well here still. I am going to turn it back over to her to share her contact information. I did not, unfortunately, have, I was not able to get her contact information in the slides at the end. So here she is. Maybe. Well, if she...
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry about that.
It's okay. There she is. So Carrie, if you wouldn't mind just sharing your email address, you can type it down in the chat. If you go at the bottom and you hit chat, and then your telephone number, and if there's any other questions, feel free to, unmute.
I'm so much better in person than I am in technology.
If you guys have questions too right now for
so now
myself.
You're going to see me going, how do I do that?
Oh, funny. If you want me to just put it in there, I will. I can just do it. It's kmanson at St. Therese.org, right? Or .com.
Yes, that's correct. .org.
Okay. So there's Carrie's email address in the chat if you guys can see that. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to me. I can get you all of her contact information as well. But any questions, if you want, I can unmute you, or you can, I'll ask to unmute if there's any questions. Certainly don't hesitate to ask. I'll give it a few minutes here. Okay. I'm going to give it one more minute so you guys can feel free to leave the meeting, but I will end the meeting here in about 1 minute. All right. Thank you again, everybody, for being a part of the meeting with St. Therese of New Hope and St. Croix Hospice today. I wish you all a wonderful, warm, and loving day. And feel free to connect with us if there's anything you need. We're here for you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.